And good morning, everyone. This is the Good Morning Education Show, and we are streaming live from Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa, to the rest of the world. We're excited you're here today, and I'm sure our colleagues here and analysts in the show are ready to say hello. Good morning, everyone. Everybody say hello.
Good morning. Hello, hello,
Good
hello.
morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Morning, good
Morning,
morning.
everyone.
Okay, so we seem to have a full house. Welcome,
Good
Safety Chief.
morning, everyone.
Welcome back to the grind. Odetola ran away yesterday.
Good morning.
Okay, hopefully Rhoda might be able to pop in. She actually mentioned that she won't be available today. All right, so we're meant to have the news, but we have a little trouble with that, and so we will. Titi, why that look on your face?
Which look? Which look?
That
Does it
look.
look like? Uh,
Well, technology hitches happen, so it's fine.
Okay.
okay. Well, I think I would like to share some how do I put it now? Some headlines, as it were. We have one of the headlines talking about news around the world is after school clubs struggle to reopen in England. We have Indonesia, kindergarten explores new ways to teach. We also have British University application on a surge despite the um, uncertainty around the coronavirus. So we still have a lot of people who are trying to. And then, of course, in Nigeria, we have one of the headlines making the rounds is schools by federal government schools are meant to resume August 3rd. We also have several states giving um, how do I call it now? Regulations and briefings around resumption. I know that Ogun State had a live session yesterday, and the deputy governor, I think, is the one in charge of that special committee to ensure that the reopening of schools happen, and then they make sure students and staff are safe, and also to limit or prevent possible spread of the virus due to this action. And we have so many people saying things, and reactions actually are coming from different quarters. We remember Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president of Nigeria, who also was a presidential aspirant in the 2019 election. He actually has responded or reacted to the news as well. So these are many headlines that we could probably get online. So I don't know if anyone wants to react to some of the headlines in like a minute. Anybody? Okay, so let's start with the visible one. Titi, you are the visible one today. So do you want to react?
Honestly, I think everybody is having mixed feelings with regards to the federal government's announcement. So, people that have children in those classes, especially the senior secondary, they were meant to sit all the exams. I think most of them seem to be signing a sigh of relief. A lot of them were worried about their children losing a year. But of course, there's still that concern with how is this going to be done safely. So I don't have a child in that year, so I feel that I need to sympathize with them. But at the same time, I'm also of the opinion, what are we going to do to just ensure that whatever it is done safely? So I asked myself as a parent, my child is in that class, would I want them to go for the exam? And that's if my child is in a private school or if my child is in a public school. If my child doesn't have any underlying health conditions, is this something that I would consider? And I'll be honest, where I am right now, I would really, really, really say no. That's just the truth. But I think in the end, each parent will have to make a decision on what they want to do. The government is saying that they have to go and do the exams. the exams are going to happen, then each parent will just have to make a decision. Um, and that's really what it is. I think
Because I noticed that in one of the headlines that I read, the body of the story of the news speaks about the options, which, for example, in the foreign country, especially the one I read out, they actually created three options. So while the resumption is taking place and then people are coming to school, those who do not feel comfortable, just like you said, the word comfortable, those who don't feel comfortable have the option of continuing online, which is parallel to what was going on in school, but not to have just a one-sided dimension of reopening, to have a different approach. So you have both the reopening in terms of physical convergence, then remote online learning. And then there's the other dimension, which I find quite interesting. And maybe Jude or Safety Chick or Ronke Posho, Ebenezer might talk about that. The third one was the one where the schools now are mobilizing their facilitators or teachers to go into specific homes. So there are some homes that do not necessarily want to leverage on the online, and they do not also want to take up the option of the convergence. So the schools are now deploying, how do I put it now? The learning facilitator, so to speak. Permit me to use that title. So they're using the learning facilitator to push and take learning to the doorsteps of those who are desirous not to necessarily mix, but who also want that experiential touch. But then the safe distancing and the, what they call it, the preparation and all those things are being strictly followed. So what are your take? Titi, you could talk about that before I move to the others as well.
um, my take on it is, I hear a lot of those things, outside the country, but I also look at the context of, the Nigerian reality. I still have people telling me when I'm like, oh, I hope you're keeping safe. They're like, which safe? Everybody will catch it, Gary. Let's catch it. Let's move on. We are not known, as a country to be very safety conscious. We're not known as a country, to be honest, to value life in that sense. We also don't have, to be honest, the health facilities should something happen to you. I know people that have had the COVID, accessing the testing kit, the isolation center, the challenges they go through. So when I hear this, I'm saying how even countries that are more developed than us, they also are experiencing some of the challenges. I shared the article of a school that experimented for 3 weeks, having the children come in and have the lessons. So they said the first 1 or 2 days, everybody is all prim and proper. But as time goes on, the masks are going lower. People are not washing their hands often. They're not using. It's a tough thing. If you come and say come and do it for a day or two, it's easier. Come and do it for a few hours. It's easier. But when you're looking for something that is meant to be a long term, then we really begin to realize how impossible that is. And that's my concern. So when I look at the people that are doing exams, I'm like, honestly, for the GSS, I feel that GSS is not as important. They should just let the people think people who do SS1, and just let it go. But for the other ones, I'm also concerned. So I still feel that we are not yet at a place where we should open schools. I still feel that we need to explore all the options. The options of people coming to your homes, it's left to you. If you feel that all the precautions are going to be implemented, if you feel that you can do it safely from both parties, and at the same time you ensure that you meet the duration. So if someone is going to come to my house, I'm going to do all the precautions. Can I do that every day? No, I can't. I can do that maybe once or twice a week. I can only do that for short duration. So those are some of the things that we need to say, what is really practically possible and for how long can it happen? I'm still, uncomfortable as a person, and this is me. So let's explore the various options. I agree, not all one size fits all. But I would say that as much as possible, let's limit, the contact. If we do, let's do it for short periods so that we can really implement all the precautions. That's really my stand as a parent, and my stance really.
Okay. Safety chick, let me ask you, safety chick, you're the safety conscious advocate and all that. I'd like to ask you, listening to what we just mentioned and also the conversation around resumption and a lot of people setting up committees and even to the extent where deputy governors are presiding to ensure that there's compliance, there's safety measures in place, and possibly that there's a way to curb um, a spread to staff, which is the workforce, and also to students. What's your take about that, please? Could you share your thoughts on that?
I think that they're not people, and they're not overdoing things, in the sense that because we understand how easily this virus can spread, we have to be really strict about enforcement. We have to be really strict because we're trying to protect the children that are coming to school. And again, it's not just about the children. Also, we're also trying to protect the teachers, because teachers also have families. We do not want a situation that is because they came to work, they would not be able to go back home in good health, right? So I think putting all those structures, having those strict measures are great. They would help people to be in check. And the reason why it is important is I went to a part of Lagos some weeks ago, and everybody, down to the bike men on the street, down to the sellers on the street, they knew that the area they were living in, compliance was being implemented with regards to social distancing, with regards to mask. Everybody knew. And then I went to another part of Lagos, and those ones couldn't care less. So you see why it is important for compliance to be felt at every level, because when people feel it, they would adapt. It may not be easy, but everybody would adapt. But if people cannot feel that anybody is checking if they're complying, they would do anyhow. And so that is why that compliance, that strict compliance, is really important at this time. So yes, it may not be comfortable, but because we know what we're trying to prevent, what we're fighting for, we just have to manage and work with it.
All right, so let me ask you, Jude, any
Yeah.
thoughts on that, on the headline, just in 60 seconds, please?
Okay, on the headline, in terms of people getting ready for school and different areas of work life, there's a lot of unsaid things, and at this point, which I really don't want to start throwing as passions. There are a lot of unsaid things. There are a lot of things which we are not in the know about. So, do we want to open the? Are we ready to open, or we are not ready to open? So, if we have to go through all the hoops of complying and all that, I think we have to put things in place and stop assuming what we don't know. So I will not say much about it, but there are a lot of unsaid things in this whole theory.
Okay, Ronke Posh. Ronke Posh.
Nothing to add. Just let's get to the topic of the day.
All right, Eben.
Yeah, good morning. There's a lot. When I saw the news that school, especially the secondary school, the ones that are writing WAEC are resuming. I won't tell you that I was not happy. I was happy because I was expecting an action. I think because for some time now there's no action at all. When we even talk about the compliance issue, our government even complying with the COVID-19 guideline in terms of mask wearing and more. If not that I can't really say much about the president not even wearing the mask at all, even in Nigeria, just the traveling to Mali was his first time of wearing it. So compliance issue is nothing to talk about, and COVID itself is something that we don't really know much about, and To me, to make it happen in Nigeria is something that is simple. It's just for them to kickstart. And if government really want to work on creating a platform whereby parents can choose in between the one that they want, whether they want going to school, whether they want voucher, whether they want visitation of teachers, they can do it. But I'm not sure that we are ready to make that work, because there are so many things, like Mr. Jude said, that are unseen. There are so many things that are unseen. I think that's my contribution.
So you decide to join in the unseen forces and the spiritual eyes of Jude as
The
in,
past,
into the future.
he's a prophet now. You have to follow the prophet.
As fashion.
Believe in the prophet. Believe in the prophet.
So straight to the business of the day. We started a series yesterday, and thankfully, this was something at the back of the Throwback Friday, Flashback Friday that we had, where we had wonderful stories of everyone, and even from our viewers online across the world, sharing how their journey had been, growing years, learning years as well. And we decided to take a step further to zone in on that what really shapes a child. And in looking at that, we've decided to break the days of the week into specific area of focus. We understand that there are overarching principles and dimensions to what could shape an individual, what could shape an organization, what could shape a community. However, we need to take a step to zone in, because some of these principles and dimensions, they also apply in the context. So I would like us to understand, like yesterday, we were able to talk about what shapes a child, and we were focusing on the parents, the role, the impact, the power, the place that the parent plays in the way a child is developed, a child is shaped actually. So today we're going to go straight to the second aspect of it, which is the teachers. What shapes a child? And we're talking about the teachers now. So to our viewers out there, please let us know where you're streaming from. Let us know where you're watching us live from. Please feel free to share your comments and your questions. We'll be happy to take that. And of course, you have an opportunity at some point in time, if you would like to call in, we'll show you a number where you could call in to share your thoughts or to ask questions from our top analysts in today's show. So what shapes a child? The teacher. So I'm going to take the question round. I would like to ask, let me start with you, Ibe. Your story last week was quite interesting and profound. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to start with you. So can you remember a teacher that, how would I put it? Can you remember your very first teacher you met in your life? Just a quick answer. Is it yes or no? The very first teacher you met in your life, can you remember?
For now, I can't actually remember any of them, because for me to actually say the truth, it is because I'm trying to say the truth, except university days and during my NCE. It is because they were not being truthful. Okay.
Okay, so safety check. Can you remember the very first teacher that you came in contact with?
I can't remember. I can't remember the first teacher I came in contact with, but I remember the ones that made a lasting impression.
Yeah, I just wanted you to answer the first question. All right. So Jude, how about you? Can you remember your very first teacher?
Nope. No.
I was thinking I'm the only one that will use the word no.
Can you remember the very, very first teacher that you came in contact with? Hello? Hello? Ronke Posh?
I didn't hear what you said. I did not hear what you said.
Yes, so I said that, can you remember the very first teacher you came across?
No, I cannot.
Okay. Titi, what about you? You seem to be...
No, honestly, I think I only start remembering from later on primary school, but early nursery, I can't recall. But from my later primary school, yes.
All right. So, but then back to Odetola, which I know we wanted to add to it. But can you remember the teacher that made the most impact in your life, or the teacher that you will call a great teacher out of the teachers you've come across?
I think I actually like this opportunity to talk about this person because it was during my university days that I met this person, and the person's name is Dr. Kunle Filani. This is somebody with highly experienced chief lecturer, and I have met a lot of chief lecturer for some time, and I know how proud they are in terms of being a chief lecturer. It is good to be proud to be a chief lecturer, but this person actually brought down his pride, and he talks to us like as if we are young. There was one of his quotes I will never forget. He said, "I am not scared of people above me. I am only scared of people like you who are just learning now." This is somebody that in the whole of the environment that I was in that time, he was the number one citizen of that school, and experience of being a provost in another school twice, experience of being he has actually been there almost everywhere, and he's not proud. And then I know a lot of lecturers with that same position that will put on their ID card, and then when you talk to them, you are going to receive everything in your life immediately. And then some of them don't even know anything. Imagine if not that there's no opportunity to actually talk about this. Hello. Because
you
some of
no,
that I was, and then I missed yesterday. I missed yesterday. Can I quickly throw something about yesterday?
So that we don't distort the flow and give others opportunity. We'll get to that point, but just try to.
Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem.
I will do that. Remember, I want teachers or some teachers that really made the most impact in your life.
Yes, I do. I remember Mr. Luchesi from primary school because he made me to succeed at math. I had challenges with math growing up, and for some reason, most of the math teachers at the time, they didn't make it interesting or friendly to people like us that were not math friendly. But he helped me, and so I never forgot that. I remember him, and so I've even seen him, after there. And then, of course, in my secondary school, I had tons of them. But I want to talk about one person because she did not teach me, but I saw how she carried herself in school and how she did her duties, in terms of teaching other students. And I admired that about her. And today we have a lasting relationship, and that's Mrs. Akpan. In fact, she's my mommy. But she never taught me, but she had that much impact on me. Yes, Mrs. Akpan. My school was in Akwa Ibom now, my secondary school.
I know, yes, I know. So...
Yeah, so I never forgot. I will never forget two of them in particular.
All right. Okay. Jude, let me flip the question a little bit. Now, Jude, in your lifetime, I know you are not too old and you're not too young either. In your prophetic lifetime, right? How many teachers would you estimate you've met in your lifetime?
How many?
Yes, roughly.
That have taught me, or that have...
well, that has taught you, that you have met, you've come across.
If I start counting all the teachers in my primary school...
Just give me an estimate.
That would be a little above 100.
Okay. And how many of these teachers would you consider great teachers?
Okay, they have, if I would define great in context, I would say they have their different ways they impacted. But I could sense the ones that are just doing it, just teaching for teaching's sake.
So give me like an estimate or like a.
Okay, let's say 10. Say 10, like 1/10.
So 10 out of 100, a tithe
yes,
of them.
Yes, 1/10 of them
Okay.
were actually very passionate, dedicated, and more mature in their approach to the job.
Okay. Now, if you notice something, where's Ronke Poshokishina? Okay, if you notice something, you realize that from what you've said, Jude,
Yes.
it means that there are many teachers that actually a child will come across in their lifetime, but not all those teachers will be considered great if we were to give the child the privilege to assess them, right?
Yes.
You know, let me share an experience, and then I'm coming to Titi to ask a question, and then Eben, you can now share your thoughts. I remember growing up, we had a lesson teacher, and I'm trying to remember his name, but I can't remember his looks. He was an albino person, and he used to teach us math and something. He was very strict, and so this is what normally he would do. If he gives us an assignment and he timed us, if we did not meet up with the time, so what he would do is he would knock us on the head. And so to prevent that, what we normally do was to bring our meal. We'll delay our lunch till it's time of arrival so that he can eat out of our food, especially our meat. And that became like a bribery of some sort because if you've taken out of our food, there's no moral justification for you to beat us at the end of the day. But I think he got over that after a while. So he got so bad, there was a particular day he wanted to use the restroom, and we locked him up till our parents came back.
Whoa. That's a flashback. That's a flashback.
Because it was so scary to us. Of course, we didn't understand. Looking at number one is not the regular skin type. Is albino, so you're scared of. If you tell, maybe you come after you the night or something. There are many things that were not clear to us back then. But he had so much. He was the one that made me hate maths. It wasn't that I was really bad in maths, but I didn't just like anything that was associated with him. Any teacher that carried the kind of bag that he carried, there's this kind of bag. I don't know. Do you remember those black bags? Anybody that carries that bag is anybody, just because of that. So I'm gonna ask Titi. Titi, looking at that, right? Can it be safe to say that we must look at teachers being profiled in terms of not just skill set, but also in terms of being and in terms of persona? Because the charisma of a teacher tends to have a longer effect, listening to safety chicks assertion on a child than the mere subject that the child is taking in that class. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. When I think of like you said, all the subjects I excelled in were because I had fantastic teachers. So a lot of people have had issues with maths, because of their teachers. But I was one of the lucky ones that from primary school I had a very fantastic teacher that taught me maths. And as soon as I just went to secondary school, I had the same. So it was just one of those things that just allowed me to excel. And like in those days, unlike now, where the teachers are a bit more friendly, in our own time, it wasn't like, your teacher had this element of you being afraid. But there were some that just had this charisma, they just had this way they carried themselves that just endeared you to them. And once you were endeared, you are ready to learn in their class. And I think that's really where a teacher's work starts. The first thing that you really should strive to do is build the relationship. Because once there's that relationship, once there's, that relationship with the child, it's easier for the child to learn from you. Even when you are strict. We had some teachers that were really strict, But there was this just aura about them that you liked, you know, the way they carried themselves, the way they didn't, you know, do anything funny and petty. So you had this, you know, amazing respect for them. And so even though they were very strict, when they came to your class, everybody listened, everybody respected them, and you were able to learn. And to be fair to our teachers back then, a lot of our teachers were seasoned teachers. At least for the schools I went to, my primary school had a lot of Ghanaians, and they were awesome teachers. And then I went to, you know, a Unity school where they also had very good teachers. So it's those that did not try to build the relationship that, you know, that had trouble teaching. In the end, you know, when you look back, you realize that they had good intentions, to be honest. But I mean, we had a Yoruba teacher, Mr. Atoyebi. Mr. Atoyebi was one that made a lot of people hate Yoruba. But he really was trying to, he was an awesome teacher in hindsight now, because he tried to teach us Yoruba, but we were just not interested. You know how he was always trying to get our attention by saying a lot of things, but people just didn't have that connection. So we all just were not interested. I mean, I am a Yoruba girl. I still failed Yoruba when I did it. When I did it in SS, because I just was like, oh my goodness. Anytime we came into the class, people were just going to be a racket. But in terms of actually trying to teach, he was a fantastic teacher. He just didn't initially build that relationship. But for the people that, you know, we admired, we were in you know, those teachers that people are just in love with. I had a fantastic chemistry teacher. We just admired her. I think she came from, you know, maybe to do her NYC and stayed. She just had this, you know, thing about her that everybody just admires. So I think we spent half the class admiring her, first of all, apart from listening. And because we so admired her, we wanted to be noticed. So we wanted to learn, we wanted to show off our knowledge. So I would say that a teacher is so important, and that it starts with that connection, trying to make that connection with the child so that the child will learn and in anything.
So, hello.
Hello, can I hear you?
Yes. So, Eben, you want to now talk about that point you were trying to make.
Yes, I wanted to actually not that I'm taking you guys back, but I missed yesterday's deliberation, and it was actually very painful. let me just throw just one point. Environment actually. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I know the topic was what shapes a child, and one of the things that I actually observe shapes a child is environment, because the environment as which you find yourself can shape and nurture who you are, regardless of the heredity. And I am a testimony of it. So many of my sisters, my brothers are also testimony of it. And it has been awesome that changing of environment and even transforming the environment of a child can shape the thinking of the child, and also it can also aid learning also. So what I just want to just say is just that environment is part of those things that shape a child, and teachers, school owners out there should also focus on the environment, because we don't know the kind of environment the children are coming from. So when we set a kind of a standard environment with instructive materials, with a lot of things to make learning fun, children can learn easily, and they will know that yes, this is an environment to thrive. So somebody like me who find myself in a very terrible environment, it was very tough to be able to navigate back into normal thinking. You know, some of those public school that we have out there, you need to see the environment, how upside down those environment, they behave exactly like that. That was how I was actually behaving before. I behave according to where I am. I think as according to where I am. So if I find myself in another kind of settings, I can't actually behave like that, because what you see is what will come out of you. And let me just leave it from there. I just want to just make that point so that we'll just understand that environment is one of those factors also.
Thank you, Eben, for that contribution. I would like us to quickly take some comments, and then we'll come back to the question that how can we assist and equip teachers in ensuring that the desired outcome of a child is factored into how they put in their work and all the things that they do. You know, sometimes some people are so concerned to meet the job description and KPIs to function in the place of their scorecards, and it's at the expense of the child's development. So we're going to read comments. I think maybe Safety Chick, you could do us the honors to read the comments, and then we'll come back to that question.
Okay, Niger Kid says, thank you at Uzomaki Eden Ogwehi. Okay, Uzomaki was saying great work, sir. Nana says, good morning, great educators. Niger Kid says, good morning, Nana.
Rotimi, let's skip the comments that let's skip some of the comments that still can go.
I'm actually skipping it. I think it's the delay. I'm clicking on it and it's having a delay.
Nana says, I'm watching you live from Ireland.
Thank you, Nana.
Joel says, good morning to everyone on the show.
Okay, she's responding to my story.
Oh, she says he made you find mathematics aversive. Good Luck says, in my opinion, students always pick teachers they like to be shaped by. This depends primarily on the attitudes of the teachers beyond what they teach. I agree.
Yeah. I think, you know, this is a good point. I was recently reading The Good Teacher by Dr. Abimbola Ogudere, The Right Teacher, sorry.
Right teacher.
The right teacher, sorry. And that's one of the, you know, that's one of the things she said in the book. You know, she said that, you know, the attitude, that there's just something about, you know, a teacher with an attitude, no matter how fantastic they are in terms of the knowledge, there's that, you know, there's that attitude that just makes a difference. And a lot of times, you know, kids see you, they observe you. Different kids, you know, different kids require different kind of personalities to bring out the best in them. But I think on an overall basis, a teacher that, you know, goes out of her way to make the connection, goes out of her way to study the different personalities in her class, and sometimes adjust her approach to you know, accommodate them, would do so much better in shaping a majority of her class than you know, just a few. So the attitude of a teacher, as they hire the teacher, they need to, once they've checked the technical, they need to then look at the relationship things, the attitude, how they will endear students to them. And I think a thing of, you know, also is just also, there's also a thing of physical appearance and physical outlook, yes. So, you know, a teacher that, you find a teacher that takes care of themselves, how they look, how they dress, because those are the first impressions that a child has of you.
Towards them.
So
Yes.
how can this be reinforced? So how can this be reinforced? Because it's like it seems like it's what we emphasize on that gets attended to within the school space. And so I think
from the school management. It starts from the school management, because, you know, there are some schools that have it as a rule that you can't wear slippers to school. You must be formally dressed. I'm telling you, it starts from things as little as that.
Sure.
So that everybody knows that there is a standard, there's a way to look. We're not expecting you to wear all the designer suits in the world, but we're giving you minimum requirements is that For instance, you can't wear slippers. You must look formal, you know.
I,
Those
I
it
think
starts from there.
for dressing or for appearance, I think private schools are more on point with that. But for this discussion, if we need to take it a bit deeper, we'll find that a school, both private and government, they will have to do a lot of psychological profiling of teachers before they even hire them, and that might also give us the kind of result we're expecting, because without, most times it's based on qualification and maybe appearance and maybe any other nitty gritty or experience that schools hire teachers, right? So if there's a way to get a lot of understand the psychological profile of a teacher, it could also help in either helping to enforce it or also helping to upgrade those teachers if it's possible. So
Okay.
it's a topic which could be explored in when we are hiring our teachers. What are we looking out for, and how do we know what we are looking out for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
can I say something?
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Eben.
Oh, thank you, Matt. So talking about teachers, I think you mentioned something about attitude, teachers' attitude, and sometimes also teachers' personality. And then there's this advice I normally give teachers that when you are coming into the school, don't drop your problem at the entrance of the school. Drop the problem at home, because sometimes some of those problems normally visit teachers in the classroom. So imagine teaching in the classroom and something that you're not meant to scream at, something you're not meant to beat a child at, and then immediately you just brought that particular thing you are thinking of, the frustration and more, you brought everything into the classroom and you reacted. Those are some of the, a lot of teachers out there, they are somehow disturbed in terms of maybe because of a little salary and a lot of things they still want to achieve after leaving school. So because of that, a lot of not 100%, they normally bring out a lot of aggressive behavior during the process of teaching in the classroom. So just imagine secondary school where a teacher will just come into the classroom, write notes on the board. After writing note, please read this note, go through it, I'll be right back. And the teacher will go out of the classroom. Even some public private school, you know, we have public private school where they are still somehow minimum. So a lot of them also, if the dressing is talked about, some public private school that I know, some of their top teachers will just dress casual, round neck, trouser and shoe, and the head of school can't actually say anything about it. Why? Because they are the hot cake in the school. So there are a lot of problems, and these children, they look at us, they try to mimic us, the way we behave. They try to just like, oh, teachers, this is doing like this, I'm going to be like this person. And at the end of the day, they don't know that they are actually mimicking what is not right. And some of them also, they tend not to have interest in our subjects when they check some of our behaviors in the classroom, maybe like towards mathematics, towards physics and more. In primary school, it is also happening right now, which is not meant to be. So teachers' attitude, teachers' personality, and a lot of things teachers need to consider so that they won't actually bring their aggression into their teaching methodology, and children will be able to find solution to what they are teaching in the classroom.
I like two things that Eben said, and one of the things that he said is the fact that when you're hiring a teacher, you have to ensure that it's not like someone is you know how it is. This is a job to hold while you're looking for the real thing. I think we need to look at people that are passionate about it, people that are passionate about making an impact. And I keep saying that's one thing I like about Teach for Nigeria, because when they're doing their selection process, they're looking for people to say, do you know that you can shape the nation by the role that you're playing? So they already put that mindset in you that it is not just ordinary teaching, standing in front. It is shaping nations, shaping future leaders. So you begin to see the work as different. You begin to see the work as transformational, not just something that is a paycheck. It's beyond the paycheck. So I think getting people that are passionate. The other thing you said was about the environment and the associated problems. So some of those problems can be from home, but you know what? Some of those problems can also be from the school environment. So you can actually have a good, passionate teacher come into a school environment with wonderful personality, but that environment is toxic enough to squeeze out all the good juice from the teacher.
Which actually goes to point out the fact that there's something in branding called the color psychology, and we need to recognize that in itself plays a critical role in the brand matrix of the school, but also in the learning outcomes of the children. A lot of people I've been to some places to train, and it's almost like the air was thick. You could cut it with a knife, just because everything they are there, just like decorate the school, paint the school, and people take that principle and then they take it to the extreme. So you see sometimes you see someone trying to draw a chimpanzee and it looks something different. It's scary. You make a presentation and you wanted to share a point and say maybe 5 steps to success, and you just see the image and you just lose one. Maybe you're trying to explain levels of growth and you see the image again. You just miss one step again. You see, these things matter. Just like hospitals. You can't paint a hospital ward red and you want the person to sleep.
Sure. Sure. Color are therapeutic. Colors are therapeutic.
Maybe for isolation center, it might work too. But the truth about it is there are colors that will make some people, calm and recipient. The same thing with lighting. We're talking about environment. Lighting does a lot of work, and sometimes you just be like, the same room, the same facility, but the lighting just turns everything to a different perspective, where there's bright lights. But when the light is dull, you just find that people are dozing. It puts more work on the teacher.
Yeah.
And I think we need to find a way of making sure that this, because I normally say this, right? That the problem within the school space, the problem within education, and the problems that teachers face is not really what we are talking about alone. I think it's more of the things that are missing. We don't have finishing schools for teachers. We don't have finishing programs for educators. We don't have refresher course that builds the persona and the charisma, the executive charisma that a teacher should have, regardless of the grade of school that you go to, So all these things are the problems, because when these things are, for example, you've ensured all these things. Now, I know for one, I'll call Eben out today. Eben, I'm sorry I have to do this, but Eben does fantastic work in terms of school makeover, in terms of morale painting. But I don't know, Eben is living it as an hobby. And that greatness is not finding expression. You understand? And if you're not careful, you will critique people's work, but you will not provide alternate solutions. And that's what we see across the street of Facebook. So many people have mastered criticism that they can tell you any little thing. Oh, you didn't breathe very well. You breathed for 20 seconds. You didn't breathe very well. You didn't very well.
Rotimi, I also want to add something, like I was talking about things that also, discourage teachers and just, suck the life out of them. One of the things that I will also talk about is, salaries. I'm on one of Eben's groups, and sometimes when I see them post jobs and see the amount they are asking, they're saying that they would pay the teachers, I'm like, what? You get? I'm honestly, because I'm saying to myself that even this should just be a minimum amount that is acceptable. How would this amount go anywhere? How would you, as a teacher, you put in your life, you put everything, and at the end of the day, you can't even make ends meet? So, so I also would want to be fair to some teachers and say that I think to myself and say, if I'm hungry constantly, I can't take care of my basic needs, I can't meet my needs, it will be hard. I have a lively personality, but honestly, when you see me when I'm hungry, you don't see any of that lively. You don't see any of that lively. You don't see any of that lively personality because I'm so hungry. You know, I haven't
Yes,
eaten.
yes.
Yes, and when I don't have a good night's sleep as well, those things take away.
Now I know. Now I know.
I'm just also being, also being fair and saying that there are some people that have wonderful personalities, they have the passion to teach all that, but the environment just, you know, like Eben says, we are products of the environment, they just suck the life out of it. So we also need to help them, you know, be who they want to be. So we also need to ensure that the environment, apart from the looks, the ownership, the management.
Yes,
you are saying something.
ownership.
I've gone to some schools that I felt the oppression of the management. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't. How can you flourish as a teacher in this kind of oppressive environment? You know, oppressed by the management. You can't even cough without, you know, someone almost backing down on you. So there are a lot of things, but so I don't veer off, you know, our topic of saying the role of the teacher. I like something that, you know, Goodluck was saying in the comment, that when you there's a way you carry yourself, the charisma of a teacher. So I had a teacher in university. He taught me fundamentals of I can't remember the name of the course. But you know what? He's not saying he went out of his way to connect with us, but it was just his charisma. He will come into the class, be making noise, always well dressed, as in we'll be making noise. He'll just start writing on the board, you know, start talking, you know, just the sheer brilliance of him. The class will just go quiet. You know, we used to call him Laiwowe, as in he doesn't open the book. You know, you just start talking about the fundamentals of thermodynamics from the first principle, breaking down. You know, so all of us just looking at him, all of him. Just looking at him, all of him. He knew his stuff, you know. So that charisma, when he gives you tests, he was the whole works. So there's the charisma of teachers that, you know, you're dressing, the way you talk, how intellectual you are, how you break it down, how it's not that you're just writing on the board and just reading from your notes. You're not bringing, you know, you're not bringing intellectual discussions into it. We all wanted to do well. His exams are not easy to pass, but people wanted to pass because they knew that for you to scale his exam, you showed that you knew your stuff. So it's all that, and that shaped me. You know,
I'd like Jude to say something about that because I know there's something Jude.
Yes, I'll pick it from where Titi stopped. I think the teacher was able to revise the psychology. Rather than trying to prove himself, he made the student prove themselves, and that's one key factor that actually shows a lot of professionalism, a lot of maturity in terms of what you're doing as a teacher. Rather than just trying to impose yourself to the student or make yourself the demigod of the classroom, and at that point you are able to capture the child's or the student's attention to the point that they want to please you, and that is phenomenon in actually making impact in the life of children, where you want to please your teacher rather than your teacher trying to make himself aggressively fearful in front of the student. So if maybe that's a level most times we don't talk about, that's the level we don't talk about, and that's the level we don't notice, but it's actually a powerful mentoring techniques that make your mentee or your protege become attractive to you, that they want to please you. And we had a lot of teachers at that point, and I think I had maybe 4 or 5 teachers like that. All the students wanted to please them. They wanted to be their friends. They wanted to be on their good book. Not that because they are beating you and they are insulting you or yabbing you, but you find that students want to become a a part of
be around them.
Yes. So
I totally agree with this.
Yeah,
I totally agree
right.
with this because when children are growing up, let's even start from the nursery and the primary school. There is this thing that children do where they come back home and their parents ask them to do something and they say, no, my teacher said.
Yeah, my teacher said.
So it is what the teacher said that has more power. So now, if teachers use that influence as the children grow, it goes so far. I remember giving an example of one of our Air Force teachers who had to go to another branch and how the students there told her that this is the first time they're seeing a teacher that looked the way she looked. And she was like, what do you mean? And they used style to point at another teacher. That one was wearing slippers. Not put together and everything. So this is really important. And it's not just for the teachers that come to class, even anybody that is going to come and stand in front of the student, maybe for one project or the other. I remember that when we had to do a project in Badagry in school, I had to speak to the young leaders, the change makers, that, see, ladies, you have to make an effort when going to that class tomorrow because these children are watching. They need to see something to admire, to want to connect to your message. And this is so real because I remember going to one of Abigail's school, and I went there the first time. I had a session with the children on safety. The next time the children in that class heard I was coming, all of them took extra care with their appearance. In fact, Abigail told me that one particular girl, she took her time. She wore nice shoes, wore nice trousers to come because she heard I was coming. This is me that was just how many times
coming.
How many times
was coming? Oh my God!
So
safety check.
We must always
Jude. I think we should change our name too.
To what?
Prophetic bloke. Prophetic bloke.
Prophetic bloke.
So for real, we must model what we want.
There's a popular saying that. There's a popular saying, according to what Safety Chick is saying, dress the way you want to be addressed. So it's a very simple saying that goes a long way to mean a lot. So if you want to be addressed well by your student, the teacher should be well dressed, irrespective.
And let me.
And it even goes into the way you speak. Are you a kind person? How do you manage your emotions? Because when children get attracted to you, they want to do things like you do it. So it translates to other areas of life.
Exactly. Because one of the things that I like to say, and then we'll end with the comment because we're really running out of time, is this: that I've come to realize that we tend to limit charisma to just the surface. Charisma is not just a surface, meaning that the way I look or the feel, the dress, the tonality of my voice, the courage of my walk. Charisma goes beyond that. In fact, the contagious part of charisma is not the attraction, because the attraction gets attention, but the contagious part is the modeling, which Safety Chick was trying to say. A lot of people drop the ball at that point where they are so inviting, so attractive, either from their point of view, from their philosophy, from their persona, or from their wealth of experience, or from their outlook, their hairdo, their dress, their smell, their cologne, their perfumes. But you see, at the point of the contagious part is where people now want to engage with what you carry. A lot of people do not tend to do well with differing views. A lot of people do not, and that's why I need to correct. There's this statement people normally say: go to where you are celebrated. Don't stay at where you are tolerated. You see, a lot of times we hide behind some potential statements that are sectionalized in truth. Because if you look at it, if you have a bad behavior, right, you will use that statement to say, I'm going to where I'm tolerated. And do you know that, going to where I'm celebrated, do you know that celebration can be flattering? Celebration can be based on intimidation. You bully people around, and then people are yes, my yes, sir, yes, sir to you. And then you cannot stand co-equals. You cannot stand superiors. So a lot of times people like that gravitate to where they can dominate. And that in itself is not charisma. That is stench in charisma. So charisma must attract in an overture, charisma must also engage in the place of modeling. So while teachers are cutting their hair, trimming their beards, looking good, painting their nails, wearing high heels, dressing like safety chick, we must understand, and they are sounding like TT, we must understand that there has to be that place where you are able to not just connect, but to be able to collectively, create this kind of contagious feeling that is positive in nature. So let's just quickly read the comments and then we'll end the show. Safety check quickly.
Okay, good luck says, Rotimi, we don't have quality training for teachers. We don't have. Me, it's okay. It's okay. Stop it. Honorable Minister Rotimi, it's okay. Off the mic. Off the mic.
I didn't see that off the mic. Safety chick, you remixed that statement.
I just couldn't help it. Nana says, Mr. Rotimi, a finishing school for teachers. Fantastic idea. Good luck says this series will not be complete without dissecting how social media shapes students. Okay, we'll probably get to that. Nana Titi is so right. Great pay is essential. Yes, true. Odetola Eben. I believe that the physical environment we provide for teachers and children has a direct impact on learning outcomes. So true. Anna says, I guess Titi's experiences were also positive because of the type of school she was privileged to go to. Perhaps schools need to be a bit more intentional about how teachers are hired. At the end of the day, we all bring our personalities into our professional practices.
Titi went to a school of OBO.
Safety went to Air Force, but you know back then, Unity schools,
like the private schools.
Yes, they need their stuff. Until
all right, final comment, please.
Okay, good luck says dressing is so important, like Eben pointed out. I taught mathematics during NYSC. I was going to class on nice suits and my content were in a tab. This really endeared my rural student to me. O'Shea, you'd have been the funky NYSC topper.
It is good from Lagos. Hey.
All right, so before we end, I just like to say something about this. I have a book in my hand. It's called The World Worst Teacher. Very important. And also the second one, The World Worst Children. These are books that every educator and also every child should read to understand the place and the dynamics of what actually takes place or transpires within the classroom and outside the classroom. Teachers actually do a lot and we must encourage them. But you see, 50%, 60%, 70% is not 100%. And so we must begin to look for ways to explore, to assist our educators to transit from just doing work, right, to doing great work, to transit from just doing good to delivering great work. You see, when we move from doing to delivering, then we will begin to pay attention to the details, right? A lot of us cannot undermine the fact that we've met so many teachers, and just like Jude, out of 100 teachers, and some of us have met over 100 teachers, only 10%, only 10% was able to make it to the greatness list. So that's a food for thought to every teacher out there, right? That your role is quite important, and the quality of kind of outcome of leadership we will have in society will be tied to that. A child might be advantaged and blessed to meet you, and in some cases, some children are at a disadvantage just meeting a teacher, right? Yeah. The worst thing that happened to them was meeting a particular teacher. Right? Yeah. If you listen to people who studied history and who have been able to capture moments of great people, you hear about the kind of teacher Adolf Hitler had. You hear about the type of teacher Ben Carson had. You hear about even Albert Einstein. He had statements that kind of demoralized him at the early years. Some of them just because they were dyslexic, or some of them because they were autistic, or some of them just because they had a learning disability. Some of them, it was just the fact that they needed to use glasses. But then a teacher passed a judgment statement, And maybe in the innocence of mind was just a spur of the moment, but it affected those children. Thank God for defining moments that changed some of them. But however, some of them went on to kill people just because of the point they wanted to prove that they were amount to something. So I hope this has helped somebody out there. Please ensure that you share the word. The Good Morning Education Show is daily, Monday to Friday, and we will be here tomorrow. And this time around, we will talk on the same series, What Shapes a Child, but we will not just talk about the parents and teachers. We will dwell on the things that happen in the environment and talk about that. And also the next one will be the extracurricular activities. And then, of course, we end with the school activity. And I believe that it is going to be a great time. I want to thank those who've been consistently joining us every day. I want to thank Nana from Ireland. Nana, God bless you. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank Good Luck Ayadi. Good Luck is still owing us cake in the studio for his birthday. We want to thank Douglas. Douglas, I think Douglas has joined once or twice, but let's ring a bell of blessing for Douglas.
Okay.
We want to thank everyone that has joined. Excellent teacher.
Excellent teacher.
Abigail, Uzoma joined for the first time today. And then everyone who is going to watch the replay, that bell is also for you. Thank you. Make sure you have a great day and stay safe. We need you for the episode tomorrow. We need you for Nigeria. We need you for your family. We need you for the world. This is Rotimi Etai signing out. Titi, over to you.
I think I would end by saying that, all a child is looking for is a teacher that, they'll connect with, and a teacher that believes in them, just make them be the best they can be. I would like to encourage all the educators out there, be that teacher that, just makes, the transformational journey in the child start. Thank you.
All right. Safety chick.
I'd just like to say that do the best that you can with the available resources that you have. Don't say I don't have enough
and look good, or like
there is no pay. Or there is no pay. Just work with what you have.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yes, be the best teacher you can be in your lifetime, and that might mean a lot to a child that needs that to become even greater.
And stay prophetic.
And stay
prophetic bloke.
Yes, we are good with it. We are good with it.
All right, take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.